Probably the most common exercise that pole dancers learn in order to prepare for inverting is this: the pole crunch. In this video, I'm going to share why crunching, depending on how you do it, might not only interfere with you getting your hips up, it might be contributing to the strain or pain that many pole dancers feel in their upper back when they're trying to invert. Hey, I'm Marlo Fiskin. I'm a former international champion pole dancer, and I love to demystify common pole struggles so that you can move more fluidly and sustainably. If you see someone inverting and you see this, what do you see going wrong? For a lot of us, we see, oh, the hips are falling, the hips are coming back down. And for the people who are struggling to invert, they're often telling me things like, my pelvis feels like a sack of potatoes. And naturally, when some part of us feels really heavy and hard to lift, we focus even more on getting that part up. But my friends, focusing on the problem does not always provide us with a solution. If, when you invert, you are attempting to get your hips up by rounding your spine and really relying on your anterior core, it's less likely that you're going to be connected to your upper back in a way that will actually get your hips up. For a lot of people, when they crunch and invert, it looks something like this. If I'm doing this and I'm creating a big stretch along the back, it's much harder to use those tissues to... Crunching isn't wrong. Inverting into a deep fold isn't wrong. But if you see that the profile of your invert is much more horizontal than it is inverted, this might be something you want to take a good look at. So now that you've heard all that, you might be like, Marlo, what do we do? Oh my gosh, my life is exploding. I've been crunching my life away and it's not helping me invert. I'm so glad you asked, but first maybe hit like and subscribe down below. 4 ways to rethink the crunch. Number 1, rather than focusing on wrapping and pulling down, doing what I call a koala method, instead emphasize taking the pole, pulling it down, and then breaking it and bending it in two. When we do that, it takes us out of this position, which is protraction in the scapula or internal rotation up here, and gives us something more like that. You'll then use that foundation to initiate a solid pull-up. When inverts and crunches aren't quite working, often has something to do with our ability to pull up with a slightly upwardly oriented chest, a head that's reaching back, and getting the outer arm especially to come close to the side of the body. Here's a pull-up where I go up, but I don't do those things. I'm closed, my head is forward, and my arm is still quite far from the side of my body. Instead, that sets me on the trajectory for an invert that actually begins to tip. Now, if you go to try that and your body's not ready for it, it's okay, there are progressions. We're ready to take a look at how we lift the legs. Ideally, when we lift, utilize some external rotation, coming into the groove that allows you to find your deepest squat. If you're doing something quite parallel, it may be interfering with your ability to get your legs up and then asking you to round even more. So do a little experimentation to find what angle allows you to find your deepest hip flexion. You then want to work on being able to lift your legs without bringing the spine along with it. So when I do the knee tuck, I'm gonna stop at the height before I would start to round my back. Then I pull up a little further to go back. Take a look at the difference in lifting my knees as high as I can and rounding. that will require corrective actions in the back. If I'm going up with a rounded motion, then I have to think, oh yeah, open my chest, do this, do that. If instead, I just have the right position from the get-go, it's gonna be so much easier to transition into things like the outside leg hang. So here's what we have so far. We're focusing on pulling the pull down and out, getting the chest a bit more up, the head a bit more back. When we go to lift the legs, we're only gonna lift as high as we can with some external rotation without letting the spine go murmur. When you feel like you're approaching the top of your knee lift, we need to do another little pull up and reach back. This is one of the most unfamiliar phases or harder to understand phases of the invert, but take a look. It's important to me to avoid language about movements being good or bad or right or wrong. I like to instead think about potential. What way of moving can we do the most without irritating the tissues of our body? The center of mass of our body is gonna come close to the pole and up so that we truly can become inverted without compromising the shape of the spine and then trying to fix it once we're there. I get better at getting my shoulders back, using the muscles of the back to generate this motion, well, then there's gonna be less of this, which tends to lead to that. Lastly, if we follow the steps so far, we still only might get to here. So we need to find a way to get the hips up and the head down. One is, could you use the leg to create pressure to invert? Could you slide the hands down to invert more? Or could you get really good at arm pulling so that you close the pit gap and finally get inverted once and for all. To recap, if we're emphasizing a rounded spine while rolling up, it's very hard to connect to the strength of your upper back because it's all stretched out. Instead, we want to develop the ability to create a spinal foundation for a knee lift that can then tip back, no problem. If these tips didn't unlock the mysteries of less rounding and more reaching, well, chances are there's more foundation work. The bad news is I can't get into all of those steps within this video. The good news is that's literally my specialty. So take a look at the Invert Ready program where we break these components down into progressions for all levels of pole dancers. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment below, tell me what stood out to you. There will be more. I will see you next time.